Hey, good morning, and welcome to this week's edition of Midweek Manna. We're glad to have all of you join us. This morning, I want to talk to you about breaking up with the negative effects of failure. Ooh, that's a tough one. But you know what? We've all failed. We've all experienced some type of moment in our lives when we have failed. We didn't succeed. We failed. Things didn't work out right. But we faced it and we will continue to face it at periods in our lives off and on. But failure doesn't define us, it should refine us. Case in point, did you know that the Bible is filled with many people who failed? A lot of them. Some of the most well known people in the Bible: Moses, David, Jacob, all the way to Peter, and even the great apostle Paul experienced some type of failure. But the difference is when they failed, they reestablished and redefined and reignited their trust in God. And that's where we are today. Failure, again, doesn't define us. Failure really should help refine us and shape our thoughts. And I believe the word has a great launching pad for us today when it talks about failure. So allow me, if you will, to share with you the words of our Lord, our God, found in Philippians, the 4th chapter, verses 8 and 9. Because here's what happens when we experience failure. God is telling us to change our minds, to refocus, to get reestablished. And the only way that we can do that, my brothers and sisters, is if we get in this word. Look at Philippians 4th chapter, verses 8 and 9. It says, "Finally, brethren," that's you and I, and sisters, "whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things." You see, failure wants you to always stay in a pool of defeat. It wants you to experience the agony of defeat, not just one moment, but it wants you to stay there. That's the enemy. That is the enemy that's driving your realm of just being in this cesspool of failure. But verse 9 says, "Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, and do, the God of peace shall be with you." You see, the negative effects of failure can't stick around when you're continuing to keep your mind focused and stayed on Jesus, because the God of peace, our God, the one true God, is going to always be with us. So failure is going to be some options, but the option isn't to stay in the agony of defeat from the negative effects of the failure. And I leave you with this before I close. Philippians 4th chapter, verse 13 says, "I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me." Christ is the reason why we can succeed. So I challenge you today, don't stay in the negative effects of failure, but let failure redefine who you are, and you can grow in our Lord, and the word proves it. Think on those things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this week's edition of Midweek Manna. Until the next time, God bless.